I used to live in Africa, and I have seen lots of giraffe. Do you know that if a giraffe lowered its really, really long neck, its massive heart, which is really big, would send blood smashing down into the brain and probably kill him? God created a series of valves in the neck of a giraffe to stop that happening. He also put a big sponge on top of its head. So when it bends down, the blood flow is controlled. But if it needs to lift its head quickly, the sponge releases the blood and the valves allow the blood to return normally to its body. That's pretty impressive. Do you know, God made this creature just like it is. Just like he created all the other creatures in the world. The giraffe is quite unique. Have you ever looked at a spider's web and just walked past, forgetting what the web was because you're concentrating on that big, huge spider in the middle of the web? Next time, have a careful look at that spider's web. There is a lot of complicated chemistry involved in making that web. In fact, the spider is really clever because he's actually engineered that web. A spider expert said, the silk of a spider's web is 100 times stronger than steel. And if you made a cable out of a spider's web, the width of a garden hose, it would be strong enough to lift up 2 Boeing 737 aircraft. Whoa! The web can also stretch another 40% of its length without even breaking. And it's actually stronger than a material called Kevlar that they make bulletproof vests out of. Now, my question is, how can a small spider manufacture all of that silk web from its own body? Humans can't even make silk like that, but the spider can. And when the spider doesn't want his web anymore, he actually eats it. This web that you can see in the video is set out between 2 plants to catch insects. Now, who gave it the ability to make the silk and the ability and the knowledge to design a web like this and where to put it effectively so it can catch insects? This is very complicated. And you cannot say it just evolved one day or over millions of years because God created the spider. All of these complex things the spider can achieve means that it was created by God to do this. God made everything, including the spiders. These little creatures are bees. And the next time you see one of these little guys, be amazed. The bee is truly a gift from God. You see, if we did not have bees, we wouldn't have any fruit like this, because the bees help to pollinate the flowers on fruit trees and on farms like this. In fact, a lot of crops that you see in farming would not exist if the bee wasn't able to pollinate. And what would happen? The whole world would starve. Bees are very important because God created them. He created them for a reason. Do you know, bees can navigate their way around. They're able to find food and then get back to their beehive. That means they must have a God-given GPS. People researching bees tell us that they are very, very efficient in getting food from flowers and how they operate back in the beehive. You see, the bee gathers pollen or nectar and can carry its own weight in both of these. Well, the bee gets back to the hive and he passes on to the other bees the things that he's just collected. And what happens is the nectar changes into honey. Finally, the bees store the honey in these cells that you can see in this picture. And they cover it with wax. Before the bee goes back out to collect more nectar and pollen, it will clean itself. Very good. It takes 600 bees to get 1 kilo of honey. Do you know God created bees for a very specific purpose? To pollinate the plants and to collect that beautiful nectar so that it would be made into honey for us to enjoy as natural food. That's something to think about. Bees are really, really clever.